Hello and welcome to a Masters 25 Draft League. This is Oldmanpoole. This is probably going to be the last one I get in on this format, which is, I don't know, sad. I really enjoyed this Masters set quite a bit. Might be my favorite one I've played in, although there have been a lot of good sets for sure. We've opened up Mystic Snake, which I think is just going to be the pick here. One of the big advantages of this card is when you play it in something like Legacy Cube or Vintage Cube, it can sometimes be obvious your opponent's got it if they're just holding 4 mana up. It's often a counterspell. But because it's a rare in this set and you don't see as many expensive counterspells, it's sometimes a little bit more surprising, I guess. Like your opponent might be like, oh, I'll run into counterspell or something, no big deal. But if they run into Mystic Snake, it's maybe a little bit worse. The other cards of note is I have been impressed with Goblin War Drums if you're in an aggressive deck. I like Court Hussar quite a bit. Arbor Elf's obviously great, but let's take Mystic Snake here. Alright. So we've got Ball Lightning and Eidolon of the Great Revel, neither of which are super impressive, I don't think. I mean, I guess if you're really aggressive, Eidolon can be good, but I think most of the time the aggressive actually end up doing them a lot more damage to themselves with this than they will to their opponents. And Ball Lightning, I mean, is a lot of times just kind of a 4 mana burn spell, or 6 damage, 3 mana burn spell. And that can be good, but you have to be very aggressive for it. I think out of this pack, I might actually take Zombify. I've been very impressed with this card. I've actually not had a chance to play with it, but I've definitely been blown out by it. If someone cycles like a big threat and you Zombify it, it feels pretty good. There's also Ash Barrens, which might just be a better card in general. It's nice. I really like picking these cards up when you can, so I could see just taking this and trying to keep open on mana. Zombify and Mystic Snake don't exactly go together. I think I might just take Ash Barrens. I think this is a lower powered pick, but we're going to play this in just about any deck that we get, which is pretty nice. Ooh, so we've got a pack here for sure. We did have another Zombify come around. We've also got Invigorate, which is a very good green combat trick. Having your opponent gain 3 life is pretty insignificant compared to the tempo advantage it can give you. We've also got Twisted Abomination, which does work well as Zombify. It kind of depends on whether we want to go deep on the Mystic Snake path or maybe try and make something like this work. I think I'm going to take Invigorate. This might just be kind of a safe pick, but I think it is a very solid card. So here we have a couple of options again. We've got Enthralling Victor, which is one of the sweeter cards if you do end up with the Phyrexian sort of sacrifice deck, and definitely pulls its weight there. We've also got Pyroclasm, which is just insanely powerful, very good against some of the decks in the format, and if you're a little bit more controlling, can be solid too. We've also got Woolly Loxodon, which is kind of our only green card I would consider here. I think I'm just going to take Pyroclasm. I think it's the highest upside. I definitely don't hate Chartooth Cougar, or Loxodon might be good, but I think Pyroclasm is the most powerful and kind of ubiquitous of the cards. And we're early on too. Staying open doesn't seem like a terrible idea. Okay, so now on the other side of things, we've got Cultivate, we got Sift, and I guess maybe Watchwolf. Miko Koro. Don't think that we're going to be able to really abuse this card, despite it being it can give you more gas in the late game, but since it's symmetrical, your opponent draws 2, that makes it less exciting. I think I'm going to take Cultivate here over Sift. I really like picking up a couple of these early on. You can play kind of a just good stuff deck if you get enough Cultivates and play a whole bunch of different green cards, as well as splashing for a bunch of different colors. Okay, so we're seeing some pretty late green come around. We saw how powerful Iwamori was in our last draft. We've also got another Brute-Hatch Nantuko, which is solid too. Also Disfigure. Yeah, there's some powerful stuff in this pack. I think I'm going to take Iwamori. I think it's the highest upside. A 5/5 for 4 is a really big game if your opponent can't kill it. And assuming they don't have a legendary to drop into play to fight against it. Brute-Hatch Nantuko over Soulbright Flamekin, probably. I'm not for sure we're even going to be playing red, despite Pyroclasm being very good, obviously. I think I'll take the Nantuko. If we do end up in red, then Pyroclasm still works fairly well if this is a 2-drop, too. Because it would just kill it and turn into a couple of insect tokens. I think this is our first a little bit less exciting pack. We have Ember Weaver, I guess, so if we do end up in like green-red, this is a pretty reasonable beatdown card. Outside of that, what are we taking? Like Assembly Worker, I guess? Let's just take Ember Weaver. I could see us either playing green or blue, kind of in the situation we're at now in the pack. Got Ambassador Oak, which is a pretty nice pickup. Also got like Hordling Outburst, kind of a nombo with Pyroclasm, but can be powerful anyway. Let's take the Oak though. As long as we're not completely sure which direction we're going, this seems powerful. Well, there's a Zombify. I wonder if that means... Let's see. So this is... There's a chance that another one will wheel, actually, then. So we've taken 9 cards, which means we've come around, and this is the second pack, and there was a Zombify in the third pack, too. I think I'm going to take it, because if we get 2 Zombifies, we could really kind of go deep on that. Alright, we did not. But we didn't give up too much in that pack, I don't think. I think I'm just going to take another Ember Weaver, and maybe try and shift into, like, red-green. So like a Soulbright Flamekin. This might be a pretty powerful, like, quick beatdown deck with Ember Weavers and the like, finishing off with Iwamori. I think Mystic Snake and Zombify are going to the sideboard for now. Kavu Climber's not bad. I don't hate Vessel of Nascency. I guess it's good with Zombify. But I think we'll have more chances to get it if we want. I think the Climber's a little bit better in just your average green deck that's not trying to do anything too fancy. Nettle Sentinel. If we end up in like almost mono green, maybe that's okay. Although then the Ember Weavers get a lot worse too. This is a 2/2 for 1 mana, but it's pretty costly too. Okay, so we've got a pack here for sure. We've got Epic Confrontation. Cultivate and kind of a beatdown Ember Weaver deck I think is less likely to really mix together, so I'm not sure we want another one of those. But Confrontation's obviously good. We've got Is It Chemister, which I've been told is a little bit better than I initially rated it as. Right now, we'd be able to get, like, Cultivate and Pyroclasm, something like that. It's pretty slow, though, and if we are trying to be on the beatdown, that's maybe not all that exciting. Goblin War Drums has a lot of potential, although I could see Epic Confrontation just being better, honestly. The War Drums did not wheel last time. If you are in the beatdown deck, though, I think this is what you want. I think Epic Confrontation is just going to be better still, though. I like having good removal, and this is a pretty solid effect. Ooh, wow. So Living Death is one of the best cards in the set. So we could take that, keep Zombify. This card is just absurd. You play for it kind of in the early game. If we pick up some Cyclers, it can really, really go off. I think that might be worth changing. We're not crazy far into the Ember Weaver deck, but like we don't have to go that far. Living Death is a really big payoff. Black hasn't seemed absurdly open, although that one Zombify did come around. There's some good cards in this pack though. Fiend Hunter, Merfolk Looter. Actually not completely sure what my neighbor took, but I think let's take Living Death. We're far enough into green that we might just be able to shift here, and then that will be pretty powerful. Aladamari, I think that's how you say that. Just call is we go and look for a specific creature card. Not bad, certainly. We've got Fierce Empath, which right now isn't finding anything for us. We just got another Ambassador Oak, I guess. Do a Valor of Akros if we're gonna end up trying to be like Ambassador Oak deck. I think I'm just gonna take Ambassador Oak. Maybe that's crazy. I could see Empath actually being better. Maybe better with Living Death. I think I'm gonna take the Empath. I think we're gonna probably cut these Ember Weavers for right now. So we're actually a little bit light on playables as it stands, but I think we definitely could still get there. Merfolk Looter's good with Living Death, but that would be another color combination as well. And we're seeing very few like kind of exciting black cards. Maybe the Living Death is just going to be too tough to force. I mean, kind of we're working on it based on Zombify, but that may not be correct. I think given what we've got here, I'm just going to take... Well, I was going to say I'm just going to take Colossal Dreadmaw, but maybe that's crazy. Merfolk Looter and Mystic Snake is still maybe an option. Maybe we should just take that. I'm not really sure on our second color, but Merfolk Looter I think is head and shoulders above a lot of the other stuff in the pack. Well, Baloth Null's pretty good. Works well with Living Death. Achroma's obviously pretty absurd, although I actually think that the red version is more powerful since it can cycle and it lets you, morph, and maybe it's a little bit cheaper to come up. You could say take Flooded Grove to help off a splash, but Baloth Null is pretty absurd. I think this is worth splashing for sure. A very good top-end card if you kind of are trading off creatures along the way, which also works with the Living Death plan. Okay, and there's Horror of the Broken Lands, which I think is something that this deck really wants if we're playing this card. There is a Pernicious Deed, which is a board wipe, which is pretty nice. Especially if we're going for a little bit slower. I think Horror's probably just better. Yeah, let's take the Horror here. Okay, now there's another one we could take here. There's also Shoreline Ranger. How serious are we about blue? Merfolk Looter works well with that. We do have Cultivate, so we could play maybe like a base green but blue black deck as well. Horror or Shoreline Ranger. The Horror may just be more potent. It also gets better more in multiples. Although this finding land specifically is kind of nice. I could see it either way. I think the Horror might just be better. Okay, another Broodhatch Nantuko, which, again, great with Living Death, since it tends to trade off early and buy you time. Courtisar, I guess, would immediately go to the graveyard, but I think that's probably not what we're going to go for here. We did see one Accumulated Knowledge. We might wheel that other one, although not sure if that would be like last pick or so. I guess I'm just going to take Giant Growth. Not real excited to play it, especially since we already have an Invigorate, but Haunted Fengraf, I guess more likely than the second Giant Growth to get there, although I don't think we're going to play this very often. Ooh, a lot of white here. I guess we'll just take Valor and Akros. I think it's the highest power card. Kavu Climber, not bad. And Timberpack Wolf, I guess. Also, not horrendous. It's just a 2-2 for us in this deck so far. Alright, so what are we looking at? I think we'll probably end up being like black-green specifically, although maybe with like Zombify. We really would like to see a couple more like powerful cycling cards along the way to make us really happy with that. There's a Lore Scale Coatl here, which is, even without any extra drawing, turns into a very real threat very quickly. Don't think Pact of Negation is particularly exciting, especially because double blue might be a little bit hard. We're already maybe stretching our mana too much with Mystic Snake. So I guess otherwise we're just taking like Horror of the Broken Lands, which again is a fine cycler, works well with Living Death, works well with Baloth Null. Maybe we should just take that, and maybe not end up going in on real hard on blue. Merfolk Looter is very high upside, but I don't want to stress our mana too much either. Yeah, let's just take the Horror. Now there's another Looter though. Also Courser of Crewfix. Courser is pretty good too. I think I'm gonna give up the dream here with blue, although I could definitely see Looter being correct. I think really do want to fuel Living Death, and Horrors work very well for that, which we already have 3 of. Let's take Courser. This will make sure we hit our land drops. It's a good defensive creature early. Often we'll have to eat a removal spell. Fierce Empath. We already have one of those, which only is finding Baloth Null right now. I think we're probably just taking Murder here. Yeah, I think I like that. Another Kavu Climber, another Timberpack Wolf, Blue Elemental Blast, but again, I think the blue ship has sailed here. I guess let's just take another Timberpack Wolf. I think we need a little bit more on the early side of things. These are going to plan on being cycled a lot of the time. We're still maybe looking a little bit high on our top end. And if we pick up like 2... I guess if we pick up 1 more Timberpack Wolf, they start looking pretty reasonable. If we pick up 2 more, we're really pretty happy, actually. I'm definitely happy green was as open as it was in our first pack, since it did kind of facilitate the switch into black pretty easily. In this pack, though, I mean, what do we got really here? This pack's not particularly strong. We could just take another Kavu Climber. We already have kind of a lot of those. They're good against slower matchups for sure. I mean, I don't think we want a second Haunted Fengraf. Fengraf is kind of a nice anti-flood prevention card. We already have one. Nicol Bolas, I think, is probably a little bit beyond us. I will take an Inox Survivalist, though. I've been pretty impressed with this card. It very frequently gets a 2-for-1, and even when it doesn't, it's still a 2-1-for-2 or a 3-2 for a little bit later on in the game. Mesmeric Fiend, Vessel of Nascency. Vessel is actually a little bit more exciting given the Living Death and Zombify. Fiend can be pretty annoying. It just takes like your opponent's best removal spell or something. I also haven't hated Supernatural Stamina. Is Vessel just too sweet to pass, though? Nah, I think Fiend's probably just enough better. Gives us a little bit of interaction disruption for our opponent early on. Utopia Sprawl, I think, is fine. This is a pretty cheap, like, kind of Llanowar Elves effect. It only works if you're pretty heavy green, but I guess so does, like, Arbor Elf as well. Yeah, let's take Sprawl. Echoing Courage... I guess it works with like the Horrors, Timberpack Wolf, and the like. I think Supernatural Stamina might just be better though. It's a little bit cheaper, and I think that usually Echoing Courage isn't going to be like a 2-for-1. It usually is going to be a little bit of extra damage on top. And that's only if you do end up finding a pair of creatures with the same title as well, so. Another Kavu Climber. I think Death's Head Buzzard is what we want now. Definitely not great with our Broodhatch Nantukos, but we don't have too many flyers. This could be a stopgap against flying decks. Nihil Spellbomb as a sideboard option, I guess, or Wild Heart Invoker. Invoker's not bad. It's another kind of insurance against flooding out really badly. We want a third Climber. I might honestly just take the Presence of Gone. I don't think we're going to play, a fourth Climber. And Presence of Gone against some decks is good. If they're just light on interaction and the game's going to go a little bit longer, which I think is kind of an odd combination, but you never know. And we even got the Haunted Fengraf back. And Death's Head Buzzard. Okay, cool. So we're not lacking for playables here, which I like. No one going deep on Valor of Akros, I see. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. We want Cultivate. We're going to assume that these are getting cycled most of the time. That makes our curve definitely look a little bit cleaner. I think we're probably going to cut Cultivate just because we're not really going deep either on ramp, like our top end is at 6. I guess Invoker's at 8, but it's fine even if we don't make it there. And we're not going on a bunch of colors, so that makes Cultivate a little bit worse. Likewise, I feel like Fierce Empath's probably just not that fantastic. We only have one card that can go and find right now, and that's Balathnol, which admittedly is quite good for us, but also is... like, if we draw this and Fierce Empath looks pretty bad. I think since we're not necessarily trying to go really aggressive, cutting 2 Timberpack Wolves maybe isn't the worst. And I think we actually maybe can just play 16 lands here, given that we do have all the Horrors that cycle. We are playing Courser of Krufix, we still got Utopia Sprawl. Even without the Cultivate, I think we can probably get away with 16. And hopefully we just don't get too flooded. I mean, these are 3 Climbers, maybe we should cut one of those. We cut a Climber for maybe just one more land, but bring in like Haunted Fengraf. Yeah, I kind of like that actually. Too many Climbers in your opening hand definitely does not feel real great. And Haunted Fengraf being able to give us some value later on means that it's a land when we want it to be and not a land when we don't need it to be. Okay, so we've got those 2. I think I do want to be heavier green just because we have things like Utopia Sprawl. Even if we can't cycle the Horrors on the first couple of turns, we have a few more green plays. Yeah, I think we're heavier on green than black, although not by a lot. Let's just do 8-7. Okay, well, I'm not going to say we got, like, crazy there on the cycling deck, but 3 Horrors is definitely worth working with, and I think we've got a pretty solid set of creatures here as well. Yeah, I think this deck looks pretty clean, pretty even on curve, and I'm excited to see you guys for match 1. Welcome back for match 1. This is Oldmanpoole. We've got, I think, a mulligan here, although it's a little bit tragic. We'd just be playing the Ash Barrens as a colorless source here, and even though we are on the draw, I really don't think we need to find a couple of lands in a row to be happy with this deck. So let's mulligan, and this hand is better. Still not fantastic, although Zombify Horror is pretty good. Let's go ahead and keep that. See what my opponent's up to. Starting off with Island. And let's pass. We're going to cycle Horror the Broken Lands at the end of their turn. Alright, cycle it. Okay, another land isn't fantastic, neither is another land, but it is what it is. With any luck, my opponent will play something this next turn, and we'll get to Zombify. Don't really want to run that into counter magic. Okay, Accumulated Knowledge. It's pretty cool. I've never really been able to be in a deck where I got like 3 or 4 of these. I feel like I only seen like 1 a draft, but I guess that just means that everyone's excited to go for it. Alright, so we did draw Iwamori, which makes me think going for Zombify is a little bit less bad right now. My opponent's got something like one of the Exclude, I think is what it's called, the counter target creature spell. Zombify gets around that pretty cleanly. I could definitely see them having something that counters here, but I'm gonna walk into it, I think, anyway. If it does land, it's quite good for us, and if it doesn't, we can still play Iwamori next turn, probably. Oh, it's 4 mana. That's kind of funny. For some reason, I always thought this was 3. Well, we're just gonna pass then. I'm not quite sure how I had it in my hand this was 3 mana, or 4 mana, but I definitely did, so... Opponent's still just holding up, probably counter magic. I mean, I feel like my opponent's probably got inevitability over us. And actually, again, if we find something like Living Death, it's not the end of the world to have some creatures in our graveyard. I think I'm going to play Iwamori. If it gets countered, I guess if it sticks, it's better because it's a 5/5. If it gets countered, we could still bring it back. I think it's going to eat Exclude here. That's kind of what I'm filling my opponent on. The only thing that I think would change that is if they... Okay, Arcane Denial is actually not terrible for us. So we get to draw 2 cards, right? Yeah. I mean, it did tap us out, but that kind of undoes the mulligan, too. I think my opponent's probably stuck on colors here, which is another consideration. Nice. This is the first time I've been on the receiving end of the 2 cards from Arcane Denial. And I feel like we just did it or something here. Yes, we are going to use the ability. 2. It's kind of funny that it gives you the option to choose there. Okay, Invigorate and Brood Hatch Nantuko were not like absurd draws, but they weren't bad either. Okay, so I kind of want to morph both of these. So maybe we're using Zombify this turn. If my opponent had better counter magic, I'm sure they would have used it last turn. Let's try and stick Iwamori again. And also they would have let it resolve if they had a legendary creature, so... Another Arcane Denial. Okay, well... Fair enough, we're still getting some card advantage from this every turn. And next turn we can morph a couple of threats. I'd be very surprised my opponent's mono blue. If you can go monocolored in draft, I mean there is upside there, but I think the vast majority of the time you can't really get away with it. Are we cycling the Horror at this point? Probably not. Probably just playing it as a 4/4. Like if you have the opportunity to play a one... Well, I guess that's true. They're playing 2 colors. They just played a Forest. But if you have the opportunity to play a 1-color deck that's like comparable power level, you get a ton of advantage on just like mana consistency. But it's very, very rare that you couldn't have made a better deck with 2 colors, a stronger deck. Okay. Ghost Ship's not bad. It actually doesn't block a fair number of our threats, although it will block our morph creatures, which is a little bit unfortunate. I think with that in mind, we're just going to play Horror of the Broken Lands here. And then next turn we can play Invoker plus Survivalist or something similar. And I have to imagine this one's actually going to stick here. Not too many one mana counter spells. Interesting that my opponent had waited all that time, finally found a Forest, and then played Ghost Ship, but... Mana War. Okay, that's good. Maybe my opponent's playing the long con, just trying to keep our hand so full that we have to discard. That would indeed be the long con. An Ember Weaver. 2/3 reach. Not miserable against some decks, although without a red permanent, it's pretty uninspiring against us. Another horror. I think we're going to play Invoker and Survivalist, I guess, this turn. It's just our most mana efficient option. Alright, and let's pass. My opponents managed to play a very slow game here, which means if they have Inevitability, they're probably in a good spot. Probably Predator, I don't think is anything special here. Merfolk Looter's good, though. I have to kill that, probably. We do have Epic Confrontation to interact with it. Do we want to just trade off our Survivalist? I guess they probably just block with Ember Weaver, that even if we flip it up, that's not a great deal for us. They don't know what this is, though, so they may be afraid to do that with the possibility of a blowout. We always can just Invigorate if we need to, too. Okay, Death's Head Buzzard would kill Merfolk Looter, but that's kind of it. We have access to 8 total mana. I think we're probably going to swing with both and just say we're okay trading the Survivalist away here, especially given that we're going to have some bigger threats coming down. We may maybe just use Invigorate too. But let's definitely swing. And my opponent's got to respect that this could be a 9/8. That's awfully big. We have to pay a lot of mana for that, so it's possible. Okay, they're just choosing not to block at all. You could make an argument for just like Mana of War plus Ember Weaver there. That's kind of like, well, you either trade for the Ember Weaver, which is not great, or use up all your mana, and then you're maybe still kind of behind on board. But let's just take my opponent down to 14, since they didn't block, which is perfectly fine with me. I think we're just going to kill the Merfolk Leader, or I don't think we can really afford to keep it or allow it to stay in play. Which means I guess maybe we should have Epic Confrontation first, but... Alright, and let's go ahead and punch the Looter. They have Invigorate, I guess they blow us out. No, I guess Epic Confrontation still is good enough. So I think we're slowly crawling our way into board advantage. Our creatures are definitely bigger than my opponents, other than Ghost Ship, which is a good blocker, certainly. Okay, Timberpack Wolf is okay with me. Yeah, I think we were fortunate that my opponent's been stuck on green kind of this whole game, but I guess you're playing things like Ghost Ship, being stuck on your non-blue color is probably better than stuck on your blue color. Whether they swing or not here is interesting because this is a show of whether they think they're still on the aggressive in the matchup or if they have to start playing more defensively. Still feeling confident, looks like. And that might be especially aggressive since they probably can't even use their mana effectively here. Alright, so I think we swing with everything with Invigorate and Horror still available as some tricks. And obviously, if my opponent just doesn't block real aggressively here, then we can like maybe go for lethal. That's maybe a little bit aggressive. We could do as much as 19 damage this turn, though, between Invigorate and the pump. Can't quite get the extra points for Horror of the Broken Lands since we don't have 9 mana, but yeah, I think leaving Ghost Ship would have been better for my opponent, unless they have a really good instant speed effect here. If we just let this go through, I think we're not too unhappy with the outcome, and then we can play like Course of Krufix and another Horror. Yeah, I think I'm okay with this. My opponent wants to try and use a trick. That's okay as well. They did not. Let's play our Horror first, and then a Courser. Going off the assumption my opponent just doesn't have counter magic at this point. Okay, Death's Head Buzzard on top. Not our best draw, given that the Ghost Ship blocks flyers so well, but I think we're still in a pretty good spot here. We're very close to just a bunch of our threats being lethal. Opponent brainstorming, which means our next couple of draws are likely to be pretty good. Accumulated knowledge for 2. It's good value. And, oh wow, they're just coming in. In that case, what seems likely? 2 combat tricks, maybe? How do we lose this game? I think Invigorate's likely to save us from a combat trick kind of anywhere in general, unless it's a group pump. I think we're just going to block like that and trust in the Invigorate. Wow, okay. My opponent have... what? Just a chump attack? Okay, opponent concedes. Okay, well, cool. Managed to pick up the first of the games. Opponent's playing counter spells, and just kind of a solid blue-green, kind of what you'd expect from a blue-green deck. So what's looking bad in our deck? We could bring in Ember Weavers because they do block Ghost Ship. Horrors, I think, are still perfectly fine. Ordinarily, you want to take out kind of high curve creatures if your opponent's playing lots of counter magic. But they weren't even like super crazy aggressive tempo-wise either. So we could have the quadruple or quadruple Metal Sentinels. We could pretty close to play mono green and maybe they would end up being good. But I think that our Living Death Zombify plan's a little bit sweeter. I guess Death's Head Buzzards did not look real impressive against my opponent. Ember Weaver I think is probably better. Maybe something like that. Okay, let's do something like that. Okay, you got a... well, I was gonna say we got a good hand here, but we're actually pretty slow. I like the mix of lands and spells. Ash Barrens is kind of nice. It'll go and get us double green. I think we keep, if we find any of our like morphs or anything kind of in the early game, even the horrors we could cycle away and then get back with the Baloth Knoll. I think we're okay here. Our opponent's got a great beatdown start. We could lose for sure. But if we find like a 2 or 3 drop, then this hand's fine. Or even a horror, also fine. I think we're gonna basic land cycling first. Try and pull lands out of our deck. That means we're less likely to have a turn 2 play, but more likely to have a turn 3 play, I guess. Alright. And we're just gonna cycle the land now. I don't think it matters too much to show my opponent. We're not doing anything real fancy with our colors. Just playing the Ash Barrens as a Evolving Wilds, more or less. Coral Helm Guide. Potentially the first start of an aggressive opening, which is bad for us. I guess we don't have anything else we'd play on 1 mana other than another horror, in which case we should have played Double Swamp. And if we draw another horror off our first cycle, we'll feel a little bit bad. I think we're just going to pass here and cycle at the end of turn. Okay, we go down to 18 here, and really are just hoping my opponent doesn't have a follow-up. Okay, Merfolk Looter is strong, although it's a little bit like it's not real good at pushing an advantage either. It's good in the long game. And another land was not great off the horror there. We're up to 6 now. Okay, Murder's not bad. I think we're just going to kill the Looter. And I guess we want to do it right now, so my opponent doesn't have the chance to loot even once. Alright, and yeah, still just hoping for a creature. We can play most everything next turn. I mean, another horror wouldn't be great. Arkavu Climbers, but outside of that, everything else is cheap enough. I'm a little bit worried my opponent can just keep up counter magic now and just counter, but we're gonna play our Ambassador Oak into it, definitely. We'd rather this get countered than Baloth Knoll in a couple of turns. Okay, Arcane Denial. Definitely better for us than Counterspell. And that almost certainly means we're gonna find a play, since we've got 3 draws. We'd love to use the ability, and we'd love to draw 2. Okay, Zombify counts. It's a little bit of a nombo with the Baloth Knoll. Alright. I mean, this is a 2-mana Lava Axe plus at this point. Come on, leave up counter magic. Leave it up. Counter the Zombify, you know you want to. Morph. They might still have Arcane Denial then. Okay, a Survivalist might actually be better. Well, Zombifying Horror seems pretty strong. The advantage of playing the Survivalist and flipping it up is it still is just going to trade with something. You could use Epic Confrontation to kill off the Morph or try, but that means that Baloth Null might be able to get us maximum value next turn. I think I'm just going to morph the Survivalist. See if my opponent's scared enough to counter. It doesn't look like it. I'm going to use Confrontation on their Morph. If it's like the 0-6, we'd have to use Invigorate too, which would be kind of a blowout. We could just kill the Guide. But if this is something big, I love killing it at this point in the game. And eating a counterspell would be fine for us too. Like if this is like Loxodon, we're very happy to kill it. It definitely will feel bad if it's the Savants though. Okay, just killed my opponent's Survivalist actually. Not super unhappy with that. And accumulated knowledge, tis it is. So next turn we'll block Coral Helm Guide if my opponent gives us that opportunity. And then try and cast Baloth Null. Okay. Bounce spell is fine too. I still think it's likely my opponent has counter magic, so we might actually just play like Zombify plus Survivalist. And try and resolve the Null turn later. We really, really don't want this countered. Okay, never mind, we'll just go for it now. Cool. And then this is really big. And pretty bad for my opponent, I have to imagine. Coral Helm Guide can still hit us for a couple of points every turn, but we definitely have card advantage on our side at this point. We have a group of 7 cards that are all, well, I guess mostly pretty relevant. My opponent is just sitting on 1, and their board presence isn't great. The 1 unblockable threat will end up being a problem, but it's a pretty low damage unblockable threat too. We have some time. Okay, accumulated knowledge for 2. Mana War would be, I guess, actually kind of annoying. Don't think there's much green removal they could have that actually kills the Null. Interesting they're getting in with the Mana War. I would think you'd want to get in with the Guide, since you're not likely to want to block with it. Although, you probably don't block with these either, but... Okay, so we're up to 7 mana. I'm thinking we play Nantuko and Horror? It's definitely most efficient. Let's go ahead and swing with our Baloth Null first. Alternatively, we could... My opponent's not real likely to attack anyway. We could play like Ambassador, Oak, plus Survivalist. And that lets us keep this as a morphed creature. No, I think the fact that the Horror is a 4/4 when it swings is actually a little bit more relevant. And the Broodhatch Nantuko, like, still will be a reasonable blocker against some of the other stuff my opponent has. Even if it doesn't attack particularly well. We didn't end up having to show them Invigorate last game, which was nice. So we might still be able to sneak that through as well and just get our opponent. Uh-oh, this looks kind of big. Oh, okay. Just paying for unblockable. They're 2 mana away from making 2 creatures unblockable a turn, too. Which will be dangerous. But if my opponent goes down to 8 here, which I imagine they probably will, then Invigorate means that we have a lot of lethal threats. Okay, let's swing with these guys first. Okay, opponent going down to 8. Let's play Courser of Crufix and Ambassador Oak, I guess? Play the Courser first, so that if we draw a land off the top, we can play it. Cool. And another land on top. We can't play any number of lands in this one, right? Yeah. Well, it's true. Copy Predator actually gets a little bit bigger off the courser. I hadn't thought about that. I was thinking +1 life would be pretty nice for, like, dealing with the mana war. Oh, oops, and we just passed the turn. Oh, that was bad. Oh no, we were just passing for the Copy Predator. We're still okay. I was somehow wondering how we missed a step. Yeah, that was kind of bad, though. Playing the courser into the Copy Predator was a mistake, for sure. So now my opponent kills us in 3 turns as opposed to killing us in 4. I'm not thinking it will matter, given how much of a board advantage we have, and the fact that we have Invigorate in hand. But that was a mistake. In a closer game, that might have cost us. Yep. For sure, for sure. So I guess, like, double combat trick kills us? Well, he didn't leave up double forest. Down to 6. With Mana War. Okay. Probably bouncing, like, Hoarder? Maybe Ballot. No, we don't have anything in our graveyard right now. Okay, bouncing Horror. And that should be lethal for us now because of Invigorate. Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's anything we can really change, but we swing with everything. They block like biggest, biggest, biggest. I guess we don't actually win then. But if they get greedy at all, we would get them. Don't think we want to let the Copy Predator go up to 4. So let's see, if I'm my opponent, I'm like, okay, what do I have to do to stay alive? I would block like that, like that, like that. Take 5, which would be more than enough. Guess let's just get in with it all. They're going to be chump blocking at least once. They'd have 2, 3 other threats. We're going to play 2 blockers. If they interact with the Brood Hatch Nantuko, we're going to get some value anyway. I think it's safe to attack with everything. Okay, at this point my opponent is still dying to Invigorate. Although this block may be thinking, well, we live against Giant Growth then, which is definitely could be one of the more dangerous ones. Cast, definitely don't want to let my opponent gain life. Pact of Negation, I guess, would get us here. But I think that's probably lethal. Okay, cool. Picked up match 1. Not having to show my opponent Invigorate in game 1 was probably a pretty big deal. Cool, and actually haven't quite done the dream of zombifying something, but I mean, like, Baloth Null did a very good job of getting us some value after we'd cycle some cards away. And Living Death might still rear its head in next games. That's the hope, anyway. See you guys for match 2. Welcome back for match 2. We've got a pretty reasonable hand here, I think. Let's go ahead and keep. I'm going to start off by cycling the Horror of the Broken Lands, and then probably follow it up. Probably just pass turn 2 and Megamorph the Survivalist, unless my opponent looks really aggressive, which Mountain can indicate that. It doesn't have to, but it definitely can. That said, Buzzard's good against aggressive decks if we can resolve it, although we do need another black source for that. Murder's not bad either, just having some early interaction. Okay, Perilous Mirror. Again, Perilous Mirror can kind of go either way. Can be good in aggressive decks, can be good in a little bit more controlling decks as well. Okay, let's cycle another Horror. So I guess if we find black, we want to be able to play it anyway. We could just play the Survivalist. It's a little bit unfortunate that if we use the Survivalist to kill off the Perilous Mirror, it can still just kill the Survivalist. Really want to try and get Death's Head Buzzard into play. I think we're going to cycle a Horror and hope to find Swamp in the next 2 draws. I'm playing under the assumption my opponent's aggressive early on in the game, because if they are aggressive, we need to be able to interact immediately. And if they're a little bit slower down the road, even if we lose a little bit of value in these first couple of turns, we can often make that back up. Making a mistake of assuming in the first couple of turns that your opponent's more defensive is a lot worse. Cool, so Death's Head Buzzard's really good against this opening if we get to find double black. Come on, Swamp. Not quite yet. Come on, Swamp. Not quite yet. Alright, so we're gonna put the Survivalist into play. Morphed. And it might eat removal here. If my opponent's got Trumpet Blast, we're taking a lot of damage. But I think it's our best play here. Man, Buzzard would have been so good. So good. I think I'm okay just trading for this, honestly. Like I said, I don't think we're really going to be able to get value off of this anyway. So trading 1-for-1 isn't terrible. Next turn we're going to be able to have Wild Heart Invoker, and if they couldn't attack past a 2-2, I don't think they can attack past a 4-3. Interesting, my opponent may be missing on lands again. Ooh. So Brute Hatch is a little bit tempting, but I think we're just going to play the mana efficient card here. Brute Hatch is also a little bit better at blocking big threats. Trading with a goblin is not all that exciting. I mean, it's not bad, but not all that exciting. Still no play. They did play a mountain that turn. Well, now we can play Brute Hatch, or we could just play it as a morph. Brute Hatch flipped up is a lot worse if we do get Death's Head Buzzard into play. I think let's swing with our Invoker, and we're going to morph Brute Hatch Nantuko here. My opponent multi-blocks will probably use Invigorate. Sides against it, I think I would too. Let's play another Nantuko. I was going to say red, white, or red, black are probably the most likely color combinations. Looks like it is white. Loyal Sentry is not what I've expected here. This is, I think, a pretty good card, but also not aggressive at all. Pretty reasonable against our Wild Heart Invoker right now, though. I guess we're okay trading it, probably. It's not fantastic, but if we find another land, we can resolve Baloth Null, and we want these guys to be able to hit too, so I think we'll go for it. I have to assume my opponent will trade, but we're just gonna kind of have to take our medicine. There's no guarantee we're gonna find black. Okay, so Brute Hatch Nantuko just as another morph creature? I suppose so. Can't morph these guys face up, but just as 2/2s right now, they're okay as well. And then if we find any one land, we're in pretty good shape because we can cast our Null. And then we're just going to have loads of pretty big creatures. Squadron Hawk. Okay. I have to imagine my opponent's playing things like Trumpet Blast in this deck, since they've got Hordling Outburst, Squadron Hawk. They just have one Hawk, which is still not bad. Okay, land. Nice. It's even a swamp. Perfect. Okay, I think we're going to cast the Null here. And then go and grab a couple of Horrors. Then we'll start picking in for 2 points of damage in the air. We can cast Death's Head Buzzard next turn, although we'd rather play some of our Horrors, I think. It's kind of funny to me that this deck tends to win just with a bunch of like random 4/4s. Like, it feels like we're doing really sweet things, but the end game is still just, man, my creatures are probably a little bit bigger than yours, and I'm going to punch you for a while. Okay, Squadron Hawk number 2. No attacks at all. Alright, well, another swamp's not bad here. Let's see, so we've got 7 mana. No, yeah, 7 mana. We want to be able to cast Horror, probably. Are we swinging with the Brute Hatchers is mostly my consideration. I don't think so. Like, a double block is... Flip up is good for us, obviously, but... Let's swing with our Baloth Knoll and just leave these guys as 2/2 defenders. I'm kind of not sure what's in my opponent's hand. Maybe they're just not all that aggressive. That's definitely possible too. Like Hordling Outburst and Perilous Mirror are not fantastic if you're more defensive, but they're not terrible either. And Loyal Sentry is definitely more in the defensive frame of mind. The opponent did find double white. That may have been what they was holding them back. Fiend Hunter or something here? No, Darien. Alright, that's pretty cool. Yeah, opponent's got like a massive tokens deck thing going on here. I think we're just going to murder Darien. That is definitely this card's weakness. It's high impact, but very frequently, I mean, you're just killed. And even when it's not, your opponent can just stop attacking you. Okay, so we've got up to 8 mana now, so we can cast Murder and Horror. That seems great. Rest in peace, Darien. Oh, oops, we tapped all of our black. That was really bad. That was just autopilot. Well, let's attack with all these guys. I mean, we can flip up Brute Hatches now, which isn't all bad. I think, again, we're enough ahead that's not going to matter, but... Okay. We just want to trade here. We can make a couple more 2/2, or a couple more 1/1s Invigorate to keep it alive. I guess that's okay. Also sacrifice the Fengraf. Actually, sacrificing the Fengraf might just be better. Let's just trade. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. I'd feel a lot happier if we just had another horror in play here, but it is what it is too. Maybe it's correct not even to sack the Fengraf because we want to be able to play horror plus Death's Head Buzzard next turn. I guess it really just comes down to whether we think we're going to draw a land or not. Jackal Pup. Okay, yeah, my opponent's just got to be aggressive. Well, the Darien's weird then too. Oh, these are all 1 toughness creatures. I don't think we're going to sack the Fengraf. Do we want to go digging on what my opponent could have in their hand? So Trumpet Blast, or even like Devil Trumpet Blast. If they were doing that, they definitely would have swung with the Hawks. Let's swing with both of our big threats, but leave back our Morph. It's a little bit interesting, because if they block a creature with Jackal Puff, we could maybe kill them with Invigorate too. Would be kind of a crazy play. Kind of sweet too, though. Just chump blocking with the 1/1 flyers. Okay. I think we probably got him here. Let's play Mesmeric Fiend and look at my opponent's hand. And play a horror. And the Fiend we will be able to... Okay, opponent concedes before letting us look. That's fine too. I don't think they probably were coming back, but that was a nice play to make sure they couldn't have an answer. Okay, so white-red beatdown, kind of. Do we want Nettle Sentinels? That's probably a little bit crazy. Timberpack Wolves maybe are in line, though. I don't know. They're crazy aggressive. Nettle Sentinel does end up being good. It did kind of seem crazy aggressive. Want Ember Weavers. Death's Head Buzzard seems good. I think let's cut the Climbers. Still kind of like Horror of the Broken Lands. But just kind of do everything we can to slow down our curve just a little bit. Giant Growth might be good. We are doing that. Maybe we cut Utopia Sprawl. Fiend may just eat removal a lot of the time here. Maybe only 1 Ember Weaver. I think Death's Head Buzzard's still better. Yeah, maybe not Giant Growth. Supernatural Stamina also, I think, is still just better. Ooh, man, this is not good. Opponent mulligan down to 6. I think we're going to 2. We do have Horror to try and find faster action. We have a lot of lands, especially since we just pulled a lot of stuff out of our deck. Invigorate's gonna be good, but let's mulligan that. Okay, this hand is better. Now we just need to find any land, and we have horror. Well, we're gonna keep mulligan down to 5 here. Yeah, we'll put that on top. Ooh, well, rough start for my opponent, certainly. Although Savannah Lions, I guess, is not horrendous, at least. Yeah, I really like the horrors in this deck. I mean, they're just a great workhorse. They help us find our lands and improve our consistency early on, and then late in the game, they're big threats. Kind of just what you want. So we're going to take a fair amount of damage here before we get to play anything, but hopefully not to the point where we're just dying. If they don't have a removal spell for Ember Weaver, that will definitely hold up the ground pretty well. After that, Ambassador Oak will do a pretty good job. And then we do have Zombify for the horror eventually too. But I mean, we're down to 14. That's not a high life total for turn 3. Jackalpuck. And Squadron Hawk as their last cards. That's a pretty solid opening. That does mean that it looks like they don't have removal. They're going to have to draw it here. So Ember Weaver might just do a pretty good job of stalling up the board, but I mean, all they need is like a Trumpet Blast off the top, and then we're really close to dead. Trumpet Blast would be, I guess, 6, 8, 9, 10, or wait, no, 6, 10, 13. Yeah. Okay, opponent does not have it, just has another Squadron Hawk. They are coming in with the force. They did go and get a Squadron Hawk, right? Yeah, okay. So that's their last card. So with that in mind, I'm going to block the Fencing Ace. I think that's the most dangerous card, because if they have pump effects later on. And we go down to 9. This is a pretty good, like, 5-card hand. Master Oak's going to do another good job of stalling up the board, though. Being 2 bodies is nice, especially considering the size of one of them. Although Death's Head Buzzard might just be better. Death's Head Buzzard is basically a board wipe. We play the Buzzard, we like block, take 3. If we play the Oak, we go block, take 1. I think that the Oak might actually still just be better. I mean, they're both pretty bad for my opponent. I think we kind of dodged a bullet in this matchup. Looks like my opponent had a really clunky... Okay. Really clunky turn, or game 1 start, and then mulligan down to 5. Cool. No damage. Let's resolve our Death's Head Buzzard. And that's just brutal when you look at my opponent's board. And another one. Yeah, not a great spot to be in. So I'm going to swing with our Ambassador Oak and then bring in a Horror. And then we are starting to swing for like 7 a turn. They're probably going to have to start chump blocking. Okay, Mog Flunkies does a good job of stalling us. So Flunkies, we could still trade with like the Ambassador Oak. I think we're just going to swing with the Horror and offer my opponent the option to double block. Just to keep my opponent's like group of creatures relatively small here. Play Death's Head Buzzard. Yeah, the card I'm afraid of is Trumpet Blast. Like, want to keep back a good number of creatures just to make sure that they can't win off of that. Okay, so this turn, what do? We could just swing with both of our Death's Head Buzzards. My opponent wants a trade, that's pretty bad. Horror is definitely a little bit better on defense, and this is still 4 points. Yeah, maybe we want to keep one of them back. Yeah, maybe that was a mistake. It's not like it gives my opponent an opening to make a reasonable attack. where we're not just blocking with the buzzard and killing literally everything, although we're killing kind of literally everything anyway. Okay, Hurling Outburst. One is going really wide here. You know, honestly, if we were to draw like Epic Confrontation, I might kill our own buzzard. Assuming you are allowed to target anything. I can't remember if it has to be a creature your opponents control. So let's see. My opponent currently has 6/9 creatures. We have 7. Trumpet Blast would kill us. We could swing with all of our big creatures, like swing with something like that. That forces my opponent to chump block somewhere. And then we've got 4 blockers. So if they don't have Trumpet Blast, we go like block, 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 tape 5. Man, I don't know what's the correct number to attack with every turn. Maybe do like that. And that has the merit that the Death's Head Buzzards are lethal next turn. On a chump blocking, takes 2. Yeah, I don't know. You guys will have to let me know how you think you would have attacked here. Because I want to apply pressure, right? If my opponent finds their big like pump spell, we just lose. Geist to the Moors. Okay. But I also just need to lead back like a good amount of creatures every turn. So this turn, my opponent's still on the same number of creatures, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to have 1 more, which brings us up to 8. Means I think maybe we can block or attack like this now. This also means my opponent has to block something. Crimson Mage could give haste, so maybe that's still a bit much. Okay, I'm happy with any trades that happen. Okay, yep, fine by me. When it goes down to 5, we're gonna play another horror. Pass. Okay, opponent concedes. They did have 2 cards in hand. They may have been like sandbagging creatures. Crimson Mage could have snuck some creatures through to kill us. I think that game was closer than it looked, despite my opponent's mull down to 5. Yeah, I'm not sure if I applied the correct amount of pressure or should have been a little bit more defensive, a little bit more aggressive, but it did work out. We're 2-0 in matches, which is great. I'll see you guys for our 3rd and final match. Welcome back for match 3. Move on the dice roll. We would love to play first. And we've got a pretty good hand here. Let's go ahead and keep. We have Living Death, which means we can kind of play like a different game, since we're really trying to end up with our creatures in the graveyard rather than our opponents. So we're really hoping to play against like a removal heavy opponent, maybe a control deck that just wants to counter all of our stuff. Living Death will really, really shine in that deck, or against that deck. My opponent's on the aggressive side of things. It's maybe a little bit less exciting since we're probably doing lots of trades, although even then, it's maybe not bad. I guess let's start off with Forest. We do need to find a land in the first couple of draws, although if we need to, we can play Inox Survivalist. Okay, Mountain off the start. Okay, Swamp is good. Not as good as Forest would have been, because we want to play our Courser of Crufix ASAP, but... Okay, well, Mog Flunkies. Aggressive it is, it looks like. Okay, so we're definitely not going to use Murder if we can avoid it. Let's just cast our Survivalist face down. And trust that my opponent probably can't attack us this next turn. It's funny. It feels like when I played these Masters Leagues, we tend to have a string of very like similar opponents. Like I remember when we played our Achroma deck, Or we just played like 3 opponents that were all playing blue and black. And now we're playing just a whole bunch of aggressive decks. It's kind of funny. Alright. So another land's good. Do we want to cast Ambassador Oak? Yeah, I think so. We're not guaranteed to be able to cast Living Death still, so playing defensively is not all bad. And, you know, Living Death is going to be a little bit interesting. It'll be like, oh, you know, a few bad blocks here, a few bad blocks there, and sooner or later it adds up to being a lot of stuff. Okay, Chandra's Outrage means my opponent missed with their Ire Shaman, but... Ooh, Spike Shot Goblin. That's pretty good. That can start sniping random stuff. It's actually maybe not at its absolute best. We just want to block. We could like block, you could chump block and try and set up for slightly better in the future. I think we're just going to trade here, and that's okay. Oh yeah, Irish Shaman's got Menace. So this will just come as a 2/1 later on. Guess let's just take it from the Mog Flunkies. A lot for a trade. I always forget this card has Menace, which does make it considerably better. It has always looked a little bit uninspiring to me. I mean, it's good, it's just, like, when I see it in Cube, it's one of the less exciting red decks. Or cards for the red decks. Okay, so we do have Living Death up. Which means the goal now is to, like, chump block some stuff. I think we're just gonna wait, not play anything here. Hope my opponent plays like 2 more threats, maybe, and then Living Death and bring back our Survivalist and Ambassador Oak. Okay, Chandra's Outrage, fine by me. It's interesting. So they had one and they exiled one. I'm just gonna swing with both. Alright. So this turn, are we going for it? This turn's probably pretty nasty for my opponent. They get 1 Irish Shaman back, but we clear the board. We still have Murder in future turns. This isn't like the absolute biggest advantage we could possibly get, but I think it's going to be enough, and I don't want to risk taking too much damage either. Alright. And all of a sudden we're ahead on board. Really do want to find another forest. We'd love to play Kavu Climber, Courser of Krufix. But we're not looking miserable even without it. Thresher Lizard. Right now just a 3/2, although it will get bigger in a second. Oh yeah, truly a second, because it looks like my opponent's playing Active Treason. That's aggressive. Wow. Do we just want to get rid of the Irish Shaman? Honestly, don't hate that. That gives us a 3/3 against my opponent's 4/4. We get Supernatural Stamina and trade, even with Murder backup. Wow, that was really aggressive. Okay, Zombify, not doing too much for us right now. I guess we just pass. Supernatural Stamina is a little bit awkward against the Thresher Lizard, but because if they do have something like another Chandra's Fury, they could potentially blow us out. My opponent may be True Blue Mono Red here. They played basically all the cards in their deck. Another Active Treason. Yeah, okay, I guess. And I guess we'll just murder the Thresher Lizard. Go down to 8. And still hope to find green. Frenzied Goblin. Alrighty. Not bad either, since that means that my opponent can keep attacking. Nice. Green was fantastic. So I think we're going to play Courser of Krufix over the Kabu Climber. Although I guess right now we actually can't play a land anyway, so maybe the Climber's better. It's a little bit bigger. Alright, Horror of the Broken Lands. We could cycle that and zombify it, but I don't think we need to. Let's just pass here. My opponent's at 0 cards. We don't want to take any extra random damage. They're playing at least 2 active treasons in the deck, so they could be going pretty aggressive. Oh man, they got Irish Shaman back? Really? That's super lucky. Cool, cool. Enjoy your free cards. I mean, if they got back something like Spike Shot Goblin, that's way worse, but... Such is life, such is life. Okay, so this turn, Courser for sure. Hoping to find exactly Forest, I guess. Yeah, I guess any land would be good, since we're probably going to morph the Nantuko anyway. Let's gain some life. Epic Confrontation's not bad. We could just play the Nantuko as is. Yeah, actually a 2/2 might be better. And we still have Supernatural Stamina available here too. So I think we're going to swing with both of our 3/3s. And then, even if my opponent's going to be chump attacking with one of these creatures then. Because if the Frenzied Goblin swings in, then... And maybe we should keep 2 back. If they find Removal Spell and then swing with Frenzied Goblin, they could get in for some damage. Since they can force us not to block. Maybe that's incorrect. Yeah, especially because they're getting an extra draw off Irish Shaman. Probably should just swing with 1 creature there. That could punish us. Just found a mountain though, so... Nothing too absurd. But if they have like another Chandra's Fury and killed the Courser, okay, no, that's enough for my opponent. Alright, Mono Red beats down with lots of active treasons. Remember that for sure. Again, I still don't think Nettle Sentinel is quite there. We will bring in Timberpack Wolves though and cut Kabu Climbers. Oh, Baloth Knoll though, we want you. Death's Head Buzzard seemed fine. Opponent didn't show us flyers, so I think that Ember Weaver's probably less good. Could cut Utopia Sprawl still, since we are cutting down on our late game some. Maybe bring in Giant Growth. Or maybe like exactly 1 Nettle Sentinel. Giant Growth's pretty good against like Chandra's Outrage though. My opponent's got a couple of. Alright, let's run this back. How do I feel about this hand? Not great. My opponent is playing first. We have a good number of 2-drops now. This hand might just be too slow. I think we're gonna mulligan it. Oh no, this hand's worse. If we find black, we just get to go for forever on these. Oh, this is tough. I think I'm gonna mulligan again though. Here, we've got to keep this. Oof. Maybe I should just kept the first hand. Oh man, do we keep Fengraf? We really need to find black. We pitch it. Like, I can understand the argument for any land, but I think at this point we have to hope to get lucky to win this next game, which means that we're finding Swamp off the top anyway. Uh-oh. I think we're gonna get punished by the mono red here. Alright. I don't have the Great Revel. Okay, Timberpack Wolf. Not bad. Yeah, we'll take our 2 damage. Yeah, man, I do not feel good about this game. Okay, Thresher Lizard. It's gonna be a 4/4 and not too long. Timber Pack will probably stop the Edolan from attacking at least. Okay, black's nice. Let's cast our Mesmeric Fiend. Yep, taking our damage. Guess we just gotta take Chandra's Outrage, right? Okay, so they've got Act, Mog, Mountain. Oh, this was revealed. Nice. Some of these effects I feel like say look and some say reveal. Reveal is nice because then we get to see it forever. Okay, Invigorate means we will be able to survive against the Treasure Lizard eventually. Probably just casting Flunkies. Uh-oh, they draw something else good. Okay, just going for it. So we might be able to get my opponent because they swing with the Dolan. We can use Invigorate to block it. Do we need to block the Thresher Lizard? Actually, is that more important? No, I think that the extra damage from this is more dangerous. Whereas we could find something like... I don't know, this is going to be a 4/4 really quick. Yeah, maybe we do just block the Treasure Lizard. So this is going to take us down to 10. Okay. And our opponent can gain life here. So we still go down to 10, but we will get rid of the Thresher Lizard, which is dangerous in a couple turns. You know, I think we've had about as good a fight as we could have here. Swamp? Swamp? Okay, Living Death. That's kind of interesting. That may yet save us. We're still not looking good, though. Frenzied Goblin. Gonna start removing our blockers. And I have to imagine they're casting Mog Flunkies here. Okay, and I assume they play the land. I actually don't remember for sure, but I don't think that they would have sandbagged it. Yeah, because they had 3 when we took the Chandra's Outrage. Horrors for days. Come on, Swamp. Swamp, Swamp, Swamp. If we do get a Swamp, eventually we get a Living Death. That would be pretty sweet. Okay, Ambassador Oak. Alright, so this next turn we take 5, probably. Because they'll swing with Frenzy Goblin, keep the Timber Pack from coming in. Ooh, take 7 here. Okay. Yeah, we really need to hit that land. Yep. Oh man, we were close, so close. So I think our only chance is Living Death, right? We find black off the top. So go to blockers. Right now we're taking 2, 3, 8. We're going to take another 2 from Chandra's Outrage. So we're basically at 8. So we need to block. We need to find exactly Living Death. We'll go down to 2. But then we get all of the creatures we see here back. Although actually, if we block Mesmeric Fiend, we'll be able to come back in. Alright, so we just have to find a land. That's not so bad, right? Just a land off the top. Come on, land! Come on, land! That's our only out, I think. But if we come back from a mold of 5, come on! No, we were so close. We're just dead. Okay, they have Chandra's Outrage. They kill Ambassador Oak. We have 2 blockers. We go down to 2. One of the blockers gets removed. Oh man, yeah, that's it. Darn, so close. So close. I was feeling it, guys. That was going to be like the biggest comeback ever. But I think we actually did pretty well, even though we mulled down to 5. But opponent was just a little bit too fast. Okay. Wasn't even the next card. Tragedy. True tragedy. Do we just want Nettle Sentinels? My opponent just got a ton of 2-drops. Maybe Nettle Sentinel's better than Giant Growth. Alright, we'll bring in 1. Just 1. Okay, we are on the draw, or sorry, on the play this time, so that'll hopefully help our odds a little bit too. Alright, we'd like to play first, hopefully with a good hand. Yeah, this counts. Okay, let's go ahead and keep. We're going to play Swamp first, cycle the Ash Barrens, go and find a Swamp. And Death's Head Buzzard probably will end up being pretty solid. Frequently is against more defensive, or sorry, more aggressive decks, just because they tend to have a lot of very cheap creatures. And those creatures tend to have 1 toughness, like Frenzied Goblin. So Frenzied Goblin can keep the Death Head Buzzard from blocking consistently, but still not all bad. So we're going to cycle the Horror, I think, and find a Wild Heart Invoker. Okay, so this is good. Next turn we'll cast Death's Head Buzzard, and at the very worst, that's gonna like slow down my opponent's development because they're gonna keep swinging with Frenzied Goblin, but have to pay to keep it from blocking. And then Ambassador Oak and Wild Heart Invoker should really help seal up the board. Mog Flunkies. Mesmeric Fiend will be good eventually. We might, well, when do we play that? Chandra's Outrage is the really likely thing to pull. Although I guess if we just grab a random creature, that's not terrible. We are going to cast the Death's Head Buzzard here, though. So we might still take 4 damage next turn, but that means that they probably won't have a fantastic follow-up. And then Ambassador Oak should, like I said, kind of seal off our opponent's attacking options. Still didn't get into any of the 2-drops in the deck, which is really what we'd hope, but I think we're still doing okay. Eidolon. Let's cast our Ambassador Oak. And pass. Definitely like me a Haunted Fengraf if my opponent is going all in on red. If you're playing a monocolor, it's pretty close to just straight upside. Alright, and opponent's still coming in. Okay, imagine, ooh, no. Okay. So they could still have Trick. Can't have Chandra's Outrage. Something else here. Kindle, killing off the Death's Head Buzzard. Okay. That's still not terrible for us, because we're going to get to kill off 2... Well, I know that's true, the Elf Warrior dies. Okay, that's actually pretty reasonable then. We take 3. Opponent did 2 for 1 themselves, kind of. Yeah, that wasn't bad. Ooh, Living Death. So now the gameplay changes. How does the gameplay change? I feel like I'm having a tough time really playing into the ultimate like victory condition that could be Living Death. I guess we play Mesmeric Fiend, offer a trade, or take out like a spell. Yeah, and then chum block it with it. Okay, yeah, we take 2 here for sure. Okay, yeah. So Act of Treason's dangerous. Let's see. So next turn, how do they play? Next turn, they're going to try and get in for more damage. So they active Treason the Ambassador Oak. They swing for 8. That's bad for us. We chump block. They follow it up with either Ire Shaman or Hordling Outburst, ideally. We're casting Living Death next turn, though. So if that's the case, we could just take Active Treason here. And probably still grab it in the future. So if they play like Hordling Outburst, we're really happy with that. And even Ire Shaman's actually okay. So let's take the Act. Alright. And we pass with the intention to play Living Death next turn. Ideally post a jump block with the Mesmeric Fiend. Ooh, that's great. That is fantastic. Not very often I'm going to say that when my opponent casts a removal spell on our creature, but really happy to get that out of the way now. So they get Active Treason back. And they've got Ire Shaman and Hordling Outburst. Like, we're still not just absolutely stone cold winning this game, but we're not doing terribly either. Alright, let's cast Living Death with Supernatural Stamina up. And we're gonna take the Active Treason again. I think they can have their Ire Shaman, that's okay. And then they just have Frenzied Goblin on the defense. I think we'll be able to win from here. Okay, morphing the Ire Shaman, I imagine. And turning it face up. For no value? Mountain. Oh, can you just play it? Okay. Okay, so they still have Hordling Outburst. We do need to swing fairly quickly, because if the game goes too long, it gets worse for us. Just because they could find, like, more Active Treasons. I kind of feel like we swing with these 9. Play both of these creatures. Then they can still remove a threat. Yeah. Then we'll have 4 blockers. They remove 1. We need 2 to block there. That still goes okay for us. Yeah, we never want Death's Head to trade now because of Mesmeric Fiend, so... Yeah, okay. They hit removal for the Buzzard, then they would kill off the Fiend, and then they could Active Treason something, and I guess we probably die to that. We have to attack, though, for sure, and I mean, this is a liability we really can't play around, I don't think. Don't care too much about the Megamorph on the Survivalist, just need to get butts on the ground. My opponent definitely has live draws, but we're putting them under a lot of pressure here, too. Okay, Mog Flunkies is okay. Have to imagine Hordling Outburst is the follow-up. Okay, and they're out of cards. Like I said, I think Chandra's Outrage is just the true blue, like, worst outcome for us, but... Okay, so this turn... We swing with our big guns. So if we just assume we're at 3, because Ire Shaman's going to be hard to block, we need to be able to block 1, 2, 3 more creatures. But if we swing with these, we're forcing chump blocks too, right? And it's possible that my opponent would make an opening for like Supernatural Stamina too. They're net 7 on their own. Means if 2 creatures get through, they die. Maybe let's play it safe for another turn, though. Swing like that. That means Death's Head's Buzzard is lethal next turn if they don't block the horror. Here they are. Oh, that's great for us. We'll cast Supernatural Stamina. Okay, now I think we're in a pretty high, like, favorite to win spot. Points down to 7. I think we may even beat Chandra's Outrage at this point, although it would still be unfortunate. They can use the Fengraph to try and grab something back from the Abyss, but my opponent's deck's scary, though. It feels like they just have so many little ways to eke out some extra damage. Alright. So I kind of wish we'd drawn a land there, because then the Wild Heart Invoker would have been super, super serious, but let's swing with all these. That is still lethal, so my opponent's got to block one other spot. Interesting they're not... Oh, they're going to triple block? No, double block. Double block. With something? I mean, okay. I have to imagine they've got some effect. Maybe not? Chandra's Outrage. Oh, okay. No, they do draw exactly Chandra's Outrage. They go to 1. Okay, a lot of stuff's going to die on our side. They get Active Treason back. We still have 1 creature, and we have a creature in hand. Woohoo. That's scary. Okay, that was good. Yeah. Chandra's Outrage off the top. So they probably can't just kill us. Although we do have to chump block our horror, which is unfortunate. Yeah, they just have Act in hand. They could use the Fengraph, but I think we got him. Whew, yeah, them top decking a land there, I guess, was the determining thing. Yeah, that was scary. We knew that was a possibility. And we went from having a pretty good board to losing just about everything to our own Death's Head Buzzard. Okay, bring back Edolan. Casting Edolan. Don't think it's gonna matter. Alright, let's swing with both. And all they've got is Act and Treason in hand. Woo! Yeah, tight game, tight game. Well, cool. I am, yeah, super, super happy with opponent GG's. And actually, I guess we've already ended the match, so I can't GG back, but those were very good games, very tight, exciting to play, hopefully exciting to watch as well. Well, I'm not sure I would have picked this for a 3-0 like easy deck, but since we ended up against a lot of kind of aggressive matchups, I feel like we actually had a really good spot. Just having a bunch of sort of mid-range solid threats, resolving horrors later on in the game, and consistently just having access to like Broodhatch Nantukos or, you know, good interaction earlier on meant that we just were able to finish off the game against decks that were going just a little bit, or trying to go just a little bit underneath us. Baloth Null did really good work. I was very impressed with this card. I think that swapping for Living Death did end up making the deck better, and it was nice after pack 1 of the draft that we were as open, or as in green specifically as we were, that we could give up like Pyroclasm and Merfolk Looter and Mystic Snake and be like, hey, you know, we managed to get past one of the better rares in the set. Let's just shift and go into black-green. I think we were really pretty rewarded for it. Thanks everyone so much for watching. This is probably actually going to be the very last Masters 25 draft I do, which is kind of sad. It's been a pretty sweet format. I think most people would agree that this was different than a lot of the Masters formats where you've got frequently some very like linear draft strategies, whereas this one was just like a bunch of solid good cards that kind of all came together into a high-powered sort of fun format. It felt kind of like Cube in a lot of ways, although the fact that you could get multiple cards of some types meant that you could put together decks that maybe you really couldn't in Cube, in addition to just being not quite that crazy power level in general. But it was fun. It reminds me a little bit of older core sets as well, where the synergies weren't really there quite as much, but there were just some like interesting, good 2 or 3 card combos a lot of the time. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm sad to see it go. Thanks for sharing my last draft with me, and I'll see you guys next time.